Welcome back to Chai Chat with Lavina, where we discussed a lot about the pressures on the GP. ये तो 12 घंटे काम करते हैं, वो तो 12 घंटे काम करते हैं, ये गुरु जी को खाना बनाना पड़ता है घर में. But that's good. पड़ता नहीं है, that's very good. Anyway, digressing. But we want to now talk about how the dependence on the overseas doctors possibly could it compromise on care, and also what is this locum, and are you able to run the practices with these two things, and how can we as consumers still get a better of you? So thank you very much. Should we start from locum? And we have finished our food at Haka Garden and we are back on Chinese tea now.
Yeah. So in general practice and in the NHS, we have now an increasing number of doctors who are choosing to be temporary staff, locums. That means they're not employed by a practice. They don't belong to a single practice. They can work as they choose.
So you pass your exam, then you choose to become a locum and go to an agency and say कि हम locum बनेंगे.
Yes. You can either go to an agency or you can be a self-employed locum, and you choose where you want to work, but it's not a permanent position. So it's like agency staff.
So you don't get the perks, but मतलब pension ये वो नहीं.
No, the government has allowed pensions to be part of being a locum. And what normally doctors who are locums are able to limit their workload because they can choose to simply do a session looking after patients, but not being a part of a practice doing home visits or administration. They don't not responsible for running of the practice, the management, so they can just see their patients, limit their workload, but also actually it's quite expensive for the NHS to pay for locums.
So why would you want to have locums? Why? It's not work.
Doctors are choosing to become locums.
Yeah, because and then suppose if I go for a holiday, so my patients, that session needs to be covered. So then we have to hire locums in order to meet the demand.
And these people are also coming from other countries because, as you said, this dependency on overseas doctors is increasing, and the question of being assimilated not only in the care system but also in the culture, and that's where I think medical defence shield is what employment and as well as tribunal issues you look after.
Yes.
So tell me the experiences of these doctors.
Well, locums, as you know, we don't need to clarify that more, but locums are doing that for their own purpose, but as we've said, they are working in an ad hoc manner. One day in one practice, the other day in another practice, some random shifts here and there. So they don't build up nice links with their patients, with their other colleagues that they're working with, practice staff. They don't fully understand the systems they're working because each practice might have a slightly different way of working. So they don't get integrated. They don't get the cultural richness and stability of working in a single practice to make it safe practice. And so they end up in trouble. And they have a much higher chances of having complaints against them or missing results or not doing stuff which they should, and then they end up having complaints and referrals to GMC, and so it's a sorry state really. It's not ideal. Ideally you should want to work with a team because medicine, and like anything else, you work with a team, you work in a consistent environment. It is much more safer to do it that way.
And we depend more on overseas doctors. Is this a good way forward, considering culture and care for the patient as well as the doctor?
So overseas doctors, we've touched on that before. Last year and the last couple of years, actually, more people from overseas have joined the GMC register than local doctors. So this country is dependent on them. And are we doing our best to get them ready to work safely within the NHS? I think we still are not. We are investing very little in them. We don't give them the chances to learn, to settle in. And as Chand said before, the minute someone makes a mistake, the whole world falls upon them. So I don't think we're being fair to them. I think it is a two-way process. People who come here should also want to integrate. But we should make it easy for them to do so. And many times they will come and they'll be lost because there's no single pathway, there's no single induction program, there is no single way of working. So within BAPIO, we are trying to work with Health Education England to make it more sensible. But then trusts and other places will employ doctors from various different pathways, and they're unwilling to even support them for the first few months.
I would also mention the exam, difficulty in passing the exams really. The Royal College has made it so difficult for overseas doctors to pass exams. And sometimes that becomes a huge barrier, because then they end up working as, say, trust doctors or something of that sort, where they're, as Chan said, they're much more capable of actually doing what they're doing.
Practical problems बताओ कैसी होती है, क्या नहीं समझ आता
उनको क्या नहीं समझ आता? दैट्स अ वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन. बहुत छोटी सी चीज़ मैं बताती हूँ. जैसे एक डॉक्टर आया ट्रेनिंग के लिए, जीपी प्रैक्टिस के लिए, ट्रेनिंग के लिए, कि मुझे जीपी बनना है इस कंट्री में. ऑफ द प्लेन, ऑफ इनटू ट्रेनिंग स्ट्रेट अवे. सीधे पोस्टिंग हो गई उसकी मेंटल हेल्थ में या एल्डरली केयर में, हॉस्पिटल में. अब उसको पता नहीं है कि यहाँ पे सिस्टम कैसे काम करता है. इशू क्या है? 2 बच्चों को छोड़ के वो आई है बैक होम इन इंडिया, यू नो, कि पेरेंट्स को कि यू टेक केयर ऑफ माई किड्स, आई एम गोइंग टू गो टू यूके, गेट ट्रेन्ड एज अ डॉक्टर एंड आई सेटल डाउन. उसको ड्राइविंग नहीं आती है. So when she comes to my practice and she has to do visits, she doesn't know how to drive because driving lessons यहाँ पे अलग है. ये teething problems हैं, उसके रहने का, उसके बिल कैसे पे करना है, ये social issues हैं. उसके अलावा और ये जो चीज़ें हैं, ये mental impact डालेगा उसकी training में. How will she understand how the system work जब उसको society का ये system नहीं पता है? ये देखें ना, आप किसी भी एक qualified इंसान को इस country में लाते हैं इस उम्मीद से कि वो आपके लिए काम करे, और काम ऐसा वैसा नहीं. इट्स अ हाईली स्किल्ड जॉब. आपके पेशेंट्स का केयर करे, आपके, ये हमारे पेशेंट्स हैं, मैं आपके नहीं कहूँगी, ये गलत शब्द है. लेकिन आपने उस इंसान के लिए क्या किया? गवर्नमेंट ने क्या किया? क्या आपने इतना वक्त दिया कि वो सोसाइटी में इंटीग्रेट कर सके? क्या आपने इतना वक्त दिया कि वो अपना कुछ ऐसा जैसे खाने का हेल्प प्रोवाइड करना?
सिंपल दाल चावल ही नहीं मिलेगा एक इंडियन को, तो बेचारा वो तो 5 दिन में पागल हो जाएगा.
But these are the type of
सैलेड खा के, मेरा जो एक डॉक्टर है वो हर रोज मैं देखती हूँ वो टेस्को से जाके एक छोटा सा बोल 2 पाउंड का सैलेड खरीद के खा रहा है, क्योंकि उसको लगता है कि मुझे खाना नहीं बनाना आता तो मैं क्या करूँ.
Also, it's not a question of money, but it's a question of time and skill.
टाइम, वक्त. मुझे इतने साल हो गए, मुझे वक्त नहीं मिलता, तो मैं ये कैसे उम्मीद करूं कि जो कल होकर के, कल परसों ही कोई डॉक्टर आया है सीधे ट्रेनिंग में, अपनी फैमिली को छोड़ के, अपने बच्चों को छोड़ के, कोई लड़की आई है, उसको मैं कैसे उम्मीद करूं कि वो एकदम से आकर के एक्सपर्टीज से पेशेंट्स देखना शुरू कर दे जैसे मैं देख रही हूँ.
And you have said that overseas doctors we have depended on forever. Why still no induction program till now properly?
So in fact, I find it extraordinary that the government doesn't demonstrate valuing other doctors who come from other countries, because there should be a requirement by the government that any doctor coming from another country should be given a proper standardized induction, where they're taught about the way the NHS works. They're taught about the culture of the way our health service functions. They're given support
like where to give, how to, a letter to open their bank account, a place for accommodation. Very simple.
It's not standardized. So what I did when I was the BMA Council Chair, we actually ourselves have produced a dossier of information for people who come here. Not just me, BAPI or other organisations. So we're doing it ourselves, but it's not being done by the government. There is now a pilot of induction, a pilot in 7 sites. Why a pilot? It should be a requirement in other countries. You know, in other countries, when doctors go to work, in some other countries, the system actually picks you up from the airport, welcomes you, gives you in the UAE 2 or 3 months to understand the health service before you are fully providing services. So in fact, by not giving overseas doctors a proper induction, proper support, proper understanding of the system, many of them then will make a mistake or may not do things in the way they should. Then they get a complaint, and then the system starts to blame them. So it's not the right way to do it. I could not, for example, go to India and be a GP without a proper induction. I'd need 2 or 3 months to adjust.
Yeah, what a brilliant... We haven't come to a... I'm going to ask you one... it might not be one sentence solution, but what will make your life easy that will also give us better patient care? And also... I don't know. are overseas doctors your solution?
I
don't
think
know
healthy, happy, more doctors is a solution. That's what I would say.
Healthy, happy, more doctors.
But they should be happy and they should be healthy, I think, and we have to form a system to actually provide that.
So it's valuing medicine, valuing doctors, valuing the healthcare people. And when I said in your first segment, I don't think the society values the doctors as much as they used to in the past. And that reflects to the governments that get elected, and it is, doctors are greedy people and they're just doing it. What will happen is eventually people will retire at the first available opportunity, or they will, local graduates are going to New Zealand and they're being welcomed there, in Australia.
Yeah, I think
and
they're going now. Doctors are moving from Britain. Not only is Britain not producing enough doctors, doctors are going from here to other countries.
And I can tell you, it's not all about the money. It is about valuing them and treating people with respect. If you value your people, if you value them well, if you treat them with respect, they will stay and they will work. But if this country, society does not value them, they will lose them.
So I think, to me, it's very clear the biggest problem we have is we have 50,000 fewer doctors in the UK compared to an average European nation. 50,000. That is why, as a GP, I'm being forced to see people in a conveyor belt of 10-minute appointments. So what I believe needs to change is the government needs to be open and explicit that we are under-doctored. It should have a plan to increase numbers of doctors so that we can be the same as a country like France and Germany. And then we need to have GPs spending longer with patients, 20 minutes, not 10 minutes, so that we can provide proper care and give them the time, and we have time to examine them properly, and actually be a safer health service.
Why is it we're not able to bring 50,000?
Because over the last decades, the government in the UK has never planned to invest in workforce, to have the numbers that other countries like France and Germany take for granted. And that is the problem. So the problem is more about the fact that we have had, over quite a long period, a lack of workforce investment by successive governments. And now we are left as a nation with 50,000 fewer doctors compared to an average OECD nation.
Thank you. Yeah.
Not only are we not training enough, the ones we are training, we are not doing anything to retain them.
Yes.
So that's the other problem. You see, it's like a bathtub where the tap is open and the drain is open as well. You can never fill it.
I'm drowning already.
But Lavina, another thing, doctors are not just leaving, they're retiring early.
Yeah.
My sister's a GP. She's retired 5 years earlier than she should. My brother-in-law is a hospital doctor, retiring 6 years earlier than he should. And this is just a typical situation because doctors are getting burnt out. They don't feel they're able to carry on providing care under what they feel is impossible conditions, impossible demand they can't meet, and then being blamed somehow for not being able to provide the service the nation needs. So they're just saying that they can't cope and they're retiring early. So in fact, if we could be valued more, if the government could give us better working conditions, you would actually increase the workforce if people worked until retirement age.
Thank you very, very much. I have drowned in this whole, I don't think I'm really finding it hard to breathe with what has been said. But overall, I think supply, demand, mismatch, not enough doctors, not being valued, I think it's a very important thing, because mental health of the people who are looking after your mental health is just so important. And if they don't feel valued, that's it. You can say what you like, but if a person doesn't feel it, we have not done our job. So there's a lot to be done, but it was good to just listen to the other side of the people who care for us. So what do you have to say about us? Do write into me with your problems or your issues, as well as your feedback. Always welcome on chaichat@arshad.com, or Twitter me at Lavina Tandon. And I have to say thank you so much for the beautiful food we had for the first time. I think we smashed it, and we asked the place to be taken because they were looking absolutely empty, aise kisi ne chata ho usme se. So thank you to Haka Garden for that. Take care and God bless.